ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and welcome to the weekend edition of the Midday Market Report with myself and good friend and colleague, Mr. Scotty Webb, live from Tampa. I'm on Cape Cod, 33 degrees and light snow. Yeah, I said it, light snow. Wednesday will be April 1st, and we're the fools, I guess, here back on the Cape. What we're going to try to do throughout the season is get you a show Monday through Friday. Life happens, so if we miss a day or there's not a bunch of games, we're sorry, and we're also going to try to get at least one game in during the weekend, one show during the weekend. Next weekend with Friday being Good Friday, and of course the Easter holiday weekend. We will be dark that weekend. But we're here today to talk some baseball, day number 3 of 162 games. So day baseball at Wrigley Field today. It's kind of nice. Anyone that's been following me and Scotty for the many years that we've been doing shows, when we're on the same side, look out. I know back in the day, we were around that 70-75% clip. It was crazy for one full season. I sent out my afternoon plays and then went to the gym, got in my swimming, got my hot tub, yada, yada, yada. I got Scotty's email from the Substacks, and I didn't do it exactly how he did, but I'll just say we're on 2 of the same plays for sure today. And some things never change. Jacob deGrom scratched today, neck issue. Maybe he slept on his neck wrong, or maybe something wasn't right. Jake Latz has been named the starter. So if you put in any action, and I use the word action here, on the Rangers and didn't list Jacob deGrom, shame on you. If you listened on Friday, you know the difference between listing your pitchers and, of course, action. Action was COVID or the D-Gens and all that other stuff. First and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsor and partnership. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. Had a great run with the marketplace in the St. John's. Ticket 500 to make 60,000. Great game yesterday against Duke. We talked, there's a clip on there about making sure you got some profit, bouncing back, selling a few shares, number 1. Number 2, get in on that Duke money line. Duke wins outright, didn't cover. So if you followed that lead, Mr. 500 on St. John's, you made some money, so that's all that matters. So without further ado, let's bring him in, Mr. Scotty Webb. What's up, champ?
Hey, I'm not going to show you the weather on my phone so that you can see the temperature again. That was embarrassing yesterday.
It's funny. I got up real early today, and I look out the window, and the snow's. Listen, it's not snowing to beat them, but it was snow flurrying. Okay, I've had enough. We were teased 3 Mondays ago, 62 degrees. I'm like, we made it. We survived, and it's been nothing but rainy, raw snow, blah blah blah. So nothing that a nice hot tub and steam room. Yeah, Mr. 82 over there. I told you, put it in the mirror. That's us, 28 degrees. We're at 33. So Thursday, Friday, we talked about the youth movement and what happens. McGonigal from Detroit DeLauder from Cleveland with his third homer. The youth movement's so far so good. So, Scotty, as you could say, for some guys to start the season.
Well, there was a big shift in this. Remember, we had guys that were, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42 taking PEDs and doing the stuff and still producing and doing things that they shouldn't have been at the age they were. And you had a time in baseball where they weren't bringing up the kids. And, as soon as that ended, you get the younger players, so they're not experienced as the major league guys are, but that brings athleticism and speed to the game. And now you're seeing kids that can actually play at this age. McConaughey something else. He had 4 hits his first game. He got robbed of a home run his first at bat. That damn catch that Jackson Merrill made was unbelievable. And then to basically win the game, you're in the 8th inning. I think it was. Maybe it was the 7th. I think it was the 8th. Bases are loaded. There's 2 outs. He's a left-handed hitter, and the Padres quote. I'm going to say quote because I'm going to get into this in a second. But they quote have the best bullpen, and they struggle. They walk some guys and they did whatever, and then other guys can't produce for Detroit. So McConaughey comes up. I think there was 1 out, and bases are loaded, and it's a tie game in the 8th inning, and he's facing Wandy Peralta. Okay, well. Ronnie Peralta, whatever. Well, he throws 97 miles an hour, and he's a lefty, so it's left on left, tough spot, young kid. It's a 10-pitch at bat. He's fouling off shit he shouldn't be swinging at, and then gets a base hit, line drive to right center field, scores 2. Detroit goes up 4-2. The next guy gets a base hit. I forget what he did, but made it 5-2, and then they win the game. And you're talking about DeLauder out in Cleveland and stuff. I like youth in baseball. And we don't talk about it, but Paul Skeens is not very old. These pitchers that come up are not very old either. So you got young pitchers, you got young hitters. As long as they take care of them at the adult level, so to speak, in the game, teach them the right way, and there's a big difference when you get to the big leagues, and you have to learn how to travel with the team and where you're staying and what's right and what's wrong when you're staying in a hotel and you're not going out to the nightclub and you're not hanging out with looking for the you don't have to look, they're there, that show up and go, hey, look at me, let's all that kind of thing. So anyway, point being is, as long as they take care of these guys and they do it right, these are going to be really, really good players. And you see it start to transition and things turn over. And I posted something on the internet or retweeted somebody. It was Baseball America put out a thing about who's the oldest team and who's the youngest team, and you start going through that, and it's kind of interesting. Some of that stuff, Yeah, a lot of people think like the Yankees are the oldest team, but they're not. Well, they're up there, but they're not the oldest one. So you run into, I think anyway, the youth of baseball is in good standing. You've got good players, plenty of them, plenty of future superstars. I saw somebody tweet something today. I think it was Clay Travis about how Major League Baseball has taken over the NBA, and now they're the second most popular sport in all of it when they were dead a few years ago, and that's probably true. I think the NBA is killing itself, and I think baseball is moving right along, and it's becoming extremely popular again. So I don't think it'll ever be as big as football, but it's one of these things that they call it the national pastime for a reason. And people, especially guys like you and me, look, I died this baseball stuff.
I want to stay again full slate today, so I'm not going to bore anyone with 40 minutes of going back in memory lane. But I do want, as you're talking about the transition in baseball, you look at what the Braves have done. They locked up a bunch of those young kids early. The Red Sox have done the same thing. I got to go back to John Lester. I think he was 31. He was either 30 going to be 31 or he's 31 going to be 32, looking for that last contract. And we were fighting over $125 million for 5 years. That's what the contract was. And I think we came in, we Irished him to 5 years and 100 million or something. And he stood pat. He went to the Cubs and he had the identical record. And there was another Red Sox, I think it was Bronson Arroyo, did the same thing. He went to the Reds. And my point is, it's now tougher for these guys to get that last contract at 30, 31, 32 because it's changed. It's a business like all the other billionaires in the sports. And it comes to like the kid we talked about in Pittsburgh, Connor Griffin. He's 19 years old. He's never played one day in the major leagues, but they're offering him 100 or $110 million for the next, say, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years. And some people would say, don't do it. But they own you for 6 to 7 years between arbitration and everything. You can set your family up. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, never mind the next 5 years. Take the 100, 110, set yourself up, prove your worth, and then when you're 28, 29, you already got paid. Now you fight for that second contract versus fighting through the system, fighting through arbitration, then getting that 4 or 5 year deal unless you're Ohtani, Judge, and some of these other big name Sotos, which most people aren't. Take the money while you can, Scotty.
Well, I agree with that. And I also think, you sit there, NFL contracts aren't guaranteed. You get hurt, they just cut you and be like done. You don't get paid no more. Baseball, they're guaranteed contracts. So I think that's number one. Number two, I would tell you this. The younger you are, the better negotiation power you have, because Major League Baseball teams don't want to have that contract, that aging contract that you're paying a guy $10 million or $12 million or $20 million a year anymore, and the productivity doesn't match. They're not doing that anymore. They're trying to avoid it. Let's just say it that way. Sometimes they get involved in stupid contracts still, but most of that is going away. The new age GM is going in there going, we're not doing that stuff anymore. We're gonna pay the young kids and pay the runway, right? If you got runway growth, we're gonna pay that as opposed to quick landing and pay an arm and a leg for it. I think that's what you're seeing in Major League Baseball, and you don't run into the quote Albert Pujols contracts and stuff, and the guy that went to the Angels, Rendon, and these guys. You don't. Some of that stuff you can't avoid in terms of guys getting injured and things like that. But I think some of this stuff you can really avoid and go, well, Jesus Christ, you're going to pay the guy till he's 45, but he's going to be dead then. You know what I mean? And you backload the contract, so you're paying him $20 million a year when he's over 40. That's stupid. So, I think you can then go as a guy that's running your club, and you can make a decision on what you want to spend your money on. So anyway, that's, I guess, my thoughts there.
A couple early games on the slate: Tampa Bay, St. Louis at 2:15. Boyle versus McGreevy. Basically a pick 'em with a 7.5 under minus 25 cents. And I'm trying to, where's my eyes here? There they are. Washington and the Cubs at 2:20. Mikolas versus Horton. We talked about this yesterday. Cubs opened up minus 221 with a one plus 179 for Mikolas and Washington. 9.5 over 26 cents. Of course, that was last night. Must be some wind blowing in as they've moved that total down to 8.5 over 20 cents. But money coming in on the Cubs at minus 223 now, plus 201, Scotty.
Well, that Cubs game, I don't think you can bet any Cubs game in Chicago without knowing the wind before you get involved. because the Cubs are built to score runs. They're built on power. So if you play them and it's wind blowing in at 30 miles an hour, you're defeating the purpose of playing the Cubs. They don't have the best pitchers in the world. So when you're playing the Cubs, you need to look at that. So I'm thinking about playing Cubs today, right? So I went and like, okay, well, it's cooler. It's like high in the 50, I think, or 49, 50, something like that. So it's a little
That's
cooler.
a heat wave for me.
But the wind's blowing out at 10. So that's not gonna be the cool, dense air would be what would be anything that would be more detrimental to run scoring than the wind. So I didn't look at this game as a power shortage because the wind is blowing in. So in this game, I did bet it. So I'll just say it as best I can right this minute. I didn't play first five, none of that crap. I just played them on the run line. Look, they're -1.5. I where's my numbers? Over here. I got a -102 at -1.5. I'm good with that. And the reason I'm good with that, it's Miles Michaelis, guys. It's Miles Michaelis. Miles Michaelis, and I'll pull this up for 1 second. I'll go to Miles Michaelis here for 1 second because you'll love this. Miles Michaelis against the Cubs in his last 5 starts, which are all from 24 and 25. So they're quite most recent. So he's going to be facing the guys he's going to see today. And we talk about game score. Average game score is a 50. Well, his game score against the Cubs in those 5 games, 39. He's pitched 26 innings, give up 34 hits. Now, look, he's pitched 26 innings and give up 23 runs. That's not very good. He's given up 13 home runs, okay? This is not a good matchup for Miles Michaelis. And Miles Michaelis in the spring, he's barely throwing 90, 91 miles an hour anymore. So his big thing now is pitch mix. I got to change my pitch mix. So he's throwing anything that's not straight. He wants to throw a slider. He wants to throw a curveball. He wants to throw a changeup. He does not want to throw anything that's hard and fast. Well, he doesn't have that. So that's what he's going to do today. He's going to be a soft tosser. He's going to go up there and try to locate as best he can and hope to God they hit the ball where his fielders are. Well, what kind of strategy is that? Well, the other side, you have Cade Horton. Now, Cade Horton, his first couple of starts in the big leagues weren't the best for him, but he's turned into a pretty good pitcher. And I like him in this spot particularly because, I think obviously he's the better pitcher of the two. And if I pull up the pitching report, I can see that Cade Horton is an RE24. Okay, I make sure I say this. Maybe I'll just call it run suppression so that
No, I like the RE24.
It's RE24. He's an 1878. Okay, and you're a negative minus 9.69 for Miles Michaelis. That's terrible difference. That's a huge gap. WPA, win percent added. He's 2.62 to the good. Miles Michaelis is negative. Well, you would expect that. So he helps his team lose and helps give up runs. And the other guy suppresses runs and helps his team win. This is a huge mismatch that way. And I think it also helps. Well, in my mind, it helps that the Cubs got beat in the first game. So I think this is a perfect spot. Cubs go crazy today. And I'm not going to tell you that, they're going to go out and win 7-1, but I do think they're going to cover 2 runs, or I wouldn't bet them. So I like that. I think that's good. And in the other early game, I can't get off. Look, Michael McGreevy's pitching for the Cardinals. And Michael McGreevy is right around 91 miles an hour, and he's been dropping in the spring. It's not been good. The Cardinal pitchers, other than Liberator, who pitched opening day, other than him, all of their pitchers have lost velocity. They don't look good. There's bad mojo with this team. And, the Rays got ahead 7-1, and then their bullpen blew that game. So I'm not expecting the bullpen blow-ups. Now, I'm actually pretty happy in a sense that I wasn't going to bet Ryan Pepio. Well, Ryan Pepio went on the disabled list. I shouldn't say it that way because that's not the way it is. The injured list. He went on the injured list. So Joe Boyle's going to pitch. Well, Joe Boyle has pitched all spring long. He's throwing 97, 98. He's throwing gas. Joe Boyle is ready to go. He's the guy who's going to pitch in this spot. So he's a guy that may have some control problems here and there. But Michael McGreevy is a guy who pitches to contact. So I like the idea here again that you can get Rays who are playing in the American League East, who's going to be a 500-ish kind of team in the American League East. That's 80-some wins, who's going to play against the Cardinals, who are going to fight to win 70. So that's the difference, right? They're just a better team, better players, better pitcher, better bullpen, probably better manager, all of that stuff. And you can get them at Pick'em. I got them at plus 102. I think it's probably right around that same number. So I like that game too. And we'll just see if the Rays can muster up anything better than what they did before. They walked Caminero 4 times in that game.
I'm going to go back to the Cubs game for a second for all you prop guys. PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, 5 for 7 with 3 homers against Mikolas on DraftKings this morning. I don't know if it's moved or whatever. Plus 310 for Pete Crow Armstrong homer there. So again, I'm not here touting props or anything like that, but beer and pizza if you're on the Cubs side. ECSI VIPs, we got a 3-pack on the Cubs side today, and hoping for some fireworks there. I like your angle on the Rays again, up 7-1. Walked the dogs, got them fed, started to make dinner, got it prepped, and I look back and I'm like, damn, it was 7-7, then 8-7 there. The 4:00 game, and then I'm going to give you the board anyway, Scotty, so don't worry about it. My Red Sox, Sonny Gray, coming back to Cincinnati against Brady Singer. Singer, they saw a lot of, obviously, when he started with Kansas City. Both teams had a day off. Red Sox and Crochet took care of business, but it took them to the back half to get there. Today, I expect with Singer on the mound, the lefties, the Abreu's of the world, the Anthonys, maybe to start cooking with Crisco a little early. I think it's a good spot for Sonny Gray. I like the Sox today. I like them in the first 5, Scotty.
Yeah, I bet him just full game on the money line. I like Sonny Gray in a sense that you see these guys that play fantasy baseball and stuff, and they go out and go, well, there's tiers, and tiers and tiers and tiers of these tiers of pitchers. Well, Sonny Gray is one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball. He's not the top tier guy, and maybe he's not even a second tier guy, but he's pretty close to that. Maybe he's a third tier guy, but he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's been around the block. He's pitched for quite a few teams. And what I'll tell you is that he's a tough out. Now there's days where, well, just like any pitcher, but there's days where Sonny Gray gets crushed. But Brady Singer is the reason I'm betting against the Reds. And I certainly think Sonny Gray is going to hold the Reds offense. But what I will say is, Brady Singer is a guy that is barely holding his rotation spot at this point. He helped that team a little bit last year. He gets streaky good sometimes. He's a bulldog kind of guy. It's harder to score runs on when guys get on base, that kind of stuff, because he concentrates harder, focuses better, that kind of thing. But I will say that He just doesn't have the stuff anymore. He's down to 91. When you're throwing 91, that's danger, 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 danger. Look, just like what is that Will Rogers thing, or and all that stuff. And back in that when we were little, that's what it is. He's in that hittable, crushing. You better put the ball exactly where it needs to be, or you're going to get smoked, kind of spots. And he does. He tries to do that, but again, most of the time, you don't want to bet on those guys. You want to bet against those guys. And in game one, Red Sox had a lot of traffic. They just didn't get guys in. That's a just so think about this as you go forward the rest of the season. Andrew Abbott is that pitcher. He's very difficult to score on. You might get on base, but boy, he gets tough. Well, Brady Singer doesn't have the stuff Andrew Abbott does. He doesn't have the spots Andrew Abbott does. And in this particular game that we brought it up, he is where is Brady Singer? He is a 4.59 X. So think about this. He's a 4.59 projected XFIP pitcher. That's the bottom 25% of all baseball. And 3.24 is Sonny Gray. So if you're handicapping this game, the first thing that comes to your head is I'm basically a run and a half better with Sonny Gray and the Red Sox. And I haven't even looked at the Red Sox offense. I haven't looked at really, anything else to go along with it. So I think that's kind of where I started with this, and I kind of looked at it and go, Red Sox won the first game. I'm not super impressed with the Reds bullpen. Red Sox have a good bullpen, so I'm way good with this. I valued this game. Where is this Red Sox? Well, I got Red Sox at -130, and that's kind of where my number is, -130. So I don't see a super big. Well, if you ever see my stuff, it's got flames on it and different things for what's good. There are no big flames there, but I think edge wise, it's the pitching matchup, and I think that's going to suit Boston really well. And I think Boston's going to play better against right-handers on the mound than left-handers. I think their lineup's going to do a lot better against right-handers. So that there's three bets right there that I've already made. I bet the Cubs -1.5. I bet the Rays, and I'm on Boston. So there's three of them. I made six.
If you guys think they don't listen to our show, especially across the pond, you better jump in on the Rays. They are now the favorite across the pond, soon to be the favorite locally here when they start copying and pasting. I'm seeing the Rays right now as high as -115, 113, 117. One of the sports books we followed for 8 seconds moved the Rays to -135, and now it's moved back down to about 118. So again, if you want to jump in on the Rays, and I assume most of you guys got those square books, they're a little slow to the punch, as most copy and paste books have the Cardinals still favored, but the Rays soon to be favored at your book there. Before I flip over the switch, I have to the luck box is pitching, and I don't know if you remember us doing shows last year.
Randy Vasquez,
the biggest luck box ever. And if you guys go back last year to my timeline, you can see flames coming out of my nose. This Vasquez kid, I don't know how he did it. I tried to fade this kid last year. He is the biggest luck box in the world. Every time he got on the mound, somehow, some way, maybe the Padres scored 7, 8, or 9. Maybe after going 0-2, this is the spot. He's facing Blackjack Flaherty. We know, obviously, the Padres have seen Flaherty a few times. Way back in the day, the Saturday night special was always the Padres. It was always the Padres on Saturday night. They did something at Petco Park or whatever, and they always played well. And then they came back on Sunday afternoon with the camis on for the uniforms. But again, the luck box is pitching tonight, Scotty.
Well, yeah, I'll say this. Randy Vasquez doesn't have great he doesn't have great projected WAR numbers. He's one of the lower end pitchers in baseball, but he helped that team last year. He pitched a lot of innings, and the other thing I'll say is he had a good spring in terms of velocity improvement. He's throwing 96 now, 97. I don't know how he got there, but he's doing that, and his ball's moving a lot. Now, that doesn't make him a good pitcher. So here's how I view this game. And I'm on this one too. Man, we're just picking all the games I'm on. So anyway, but I'm on this one. Here's how I view this. We talked on one of our shows before the season started. I said two things I gave out two team totals, win totals, right? And I said, look, I don't think Houston Astros are any good. I think they're getting beat by the Angels, for God's sakes, in Houston. So now the other one was, I don't think the Padres are going to be as good as everybody thinks they are. And I think Detroit's a team that theoretically can play for the American League pennant. So they're the best team in the Central. I don't care what anybody wants to tell me about Kansas City. I still think Detroit's the best team. And now this McConaughey kid is giving them some fire. Riley Green hasn't done anything yet. He's actually helped them do bad things, to be honest, in terms of his offense and stuff. But they've had two good pitching performances for the most part. I mean, how can you not when you throw Scooble out there? That's step one, and then Framber Valdez goes out there. That's step two. So now you get Jack Flaherty. Flaherty at one point was the ace of the Cardinals. Now that was probably 5 years ago. He still throws hard. And at times, well, I'll just say he reminds me of Severino in a sense that he's like a good 5-inning kind of pitcher. And then he kind of wears out somewhere and messes up and gives up a home run or a walk. And now it's 2-0. And you got all these problems. So I'm not saying he's a great pitcher by any stretch, but he's a good, better than average Major League Baseball player. And pitcher at that point. And then you have Randy Vasquez, who's not. So you can't expect the baseball gods, if you want to call them that, to smile on you year after year after. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes they smile on you for one day, and then they don't smile on you again for 6 months. Randy got all of the smiles last year and patted on the back and, picked up and carried off the field and whatever. The baseball gods loved him. Oh, we got a question about the Royals. I'll hit you with the Royals today in just a second. But I think this is a couple of things. I think the Tigers are better than the Padres. I think you have a better starting pitcher, obviously, going for them. And then I will tell you that Stamen, who's the manager of the Padres, this will be his third game. AJ Hinch is the better manager. And so I think you'll run into is you got a better team, a better manager, a better coach, a better starting pitcher. And it's minus 104, guys. That's what I paid. Detroit, minus 104. I am going to take that every time. And I get it. This would be the third straight win for Detroit over San Diego. But they're just the better team. Does that mean Randy and they're the better pitcher? Does that mean Randy Vasquez can't do something good? And even if he doesn't, even if the Tigers get ahead, that something happens in the bullpen and the Padres, no, it doesn't mean any of that. But you're not paying a big premium. You're paying basically flat, even money. My number in that game was Detroit minus 129. I think you're getting 25 cents worth of value, and that is flames everywhere on my sheet. That's the best value on the board today. So I think you can't not bet it.
Shout out to Mr. Pulse here. He wants to know thoughts on the Royals game today, Scotty.
Yeah, I think I'm confused on this game, and it's not because of the Royals. It's because of Reynaldo Lopez. Look, the Braves have had some issues in spring training with their pitchers, other than Chris Sale. And you saw Chris Sale pitch yesterday. And, I will say this about the Royals. They need an ace, and I know that they had their guy go yesterday, but you saw what happened when that's what happens when you're expecting that guy to be the Cole, whatever his last, Cole Reagans, when you're expecting him to be Chris Sale and be that reliable, dependable, best pitcher in baseball kind of guy, he's not yet. And that's an up here thing. His stuff is there, but the head's not. He gave up 3 home runs and got behind, and then because he's pitching against the other team's best, you can't do that. And that's what he does when he pitches against Scooble, and that's what he does when he pitches against the other good pitchers in baseball, because he's matched up to all of those guys. Now, this is an interesting matchup because I don't like Reynaldo Lopez today. I saw him on the thing, and I saw it yesterday, and I'm going, how can I bet against this team? How can I bet on? I want to bet on the Royals so bad. The problem is, and here's where I'm confused, is Reynaldo Lopez, his last time out, Jeff, he threw 89, and he's a 96 mile an hour guy. So that's 6-7 miles an hour velocity drop. That's ridiculous. And a guy that throws 96 miles an hour, now throwing 89, 90, doesn't know how to do that. That means he's going to get hit, and that means he's got to pitch and mix up his stuff and do this. Well, then I saw a Twitter tweet. Is that right? An X post. How about that? That sounds better than Twitter tweet. X post. I saw an X post that said, hey, in a bullpen session after that start where he threw 89 miles an hour, the issue became he fixed a mechanical problem and got his velocity back. If he gets his velocity back and he throws 96, 97, that's a whole different dynamic. So I am not ready to go bet this game without that knowledge. I'm confused at how he said his arm doesn't hurt anymore, right? He pitched 1 game last year and was out the whole game, the whole rest of the season. So he's coming back from injury. He's had all this time in spring training to build up, and he hasn't in terms of velocity. So he says his arm doesn't hurt, feels good, but his velocity never came back. Well, if this X post is correct, then I would be betting on misinformation that I have, and I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to wait. Now, the big thing I've talked about with the Braves is, can they hit? If they can hit like they did 3 years ago when they went to the World Series, they were the best offense I'd ever seen at that time. Well, they hit yesterday. If they can hit Waka, they can hit any of these guys. So I'm not convinced to go run them to the window and bet Royals today. I want to wait, and it really. Let me just say it this way. Tomorrow, I think Grant Holmes pitches for the Braves. I think that's probably. I don't like Seth Lugo, and I think that's the matchup. But I think you got a better chance, depending on what the numbers are, to beat up on Grant Holmes than Reynaldo Lopez if Reynaldo Lopez has fixed his delivery problem and stuff, and he goes out there and throws 97 miles an hour. I hope that makes sense. And so I'm just going to watch. I thought yesterday it was going to be the best game on the board. Turned out to be, not the case. I thought watching that San Diego-Detroit game was pretty fun, to be honest. I thought Michael King looked pretty good to me. And what he really looked good at was his off-speed pitch. It kept Detroit from doing all kinds of things to them yesterday. So I thought that was good. And then everybody's like, hey, the Padres have the best bullpen in forever, and they're the greatest bullpen in Major League Baseball. And they got beat up. So look, year after year after year after year after year, There's a lot of these teams, and you watch them. They sign the big contracts to the starting pitchers, and then they just start picking up guys for the bullpen, just guys. Well, these just guys turn into great bullpen pieces for some teams, and how you use them and where they come and where they go. So they all kind of pick and choose and go back and forth. This Stamen guy, who's the new manager of the Padres, is going to have to get used to figuring out where to put guys and how to do stuff. They put in Morahan. There was 100 miles an hour, and he gave up the lead. And then they put in, I don't remember what the other guy's name is. Whatever his name is, doesn't matter. He walks 3 guys. And then they put in Wandy Peralta, and those are their best guys. And Detroit beat them. But my point is this: every year you need to reevaluate a bullpen. I know you have closers that you can go kind of rely on. But if you would have told me last night Kenley Jansen was going to go out there and strike out 2 out of 3 guys, I would have just, no way in hell I would have said that. He doesn't do that anymore, but he did last night against the Padres. So I think as you kind of build and look at these things, just let it happen. Don't go in with a preconceived idea that just because the Rays have always had good bullpens doesn't mean they're going to give up a 7-1 lead, right? They did. So the Padres have the best bullpen, but they got beat. That stuff has to kind of develop, and it needs to turn into something and kind of go from there, because these relief pitchers either got it or they don't. And that kind of comes and goes. It's not always the best thing. And that's why if you ever get involved in a quote bullpen game, you're really reliant on each bullpen guy to come in and do what he's supposed to do. And that doesn't necessarily work that way either. So I would just tell you to be careful on your thoughts on bullpens.
Tomorrow, Holmes versus Lugo, currently at FanDuel. Atlanta is -144, Kansas City +122 with an 8 over. Before we get to your last 2 games that you have in pocket, I have adopted a couple National League teams, that as well, and one of them has been the San Francisco Giants. Kind of a power move as they go and poach the Tennessee Vols to be Tallow from the college ranks, bring them in, and we have no idea what to expect. And it just, of course, is kind of comical that they got to start against the Yankees. 2 games, no runs. I think a total of like 5 or 6 hits. Today they go Warren versus Melee. Warren -125. You can get the San Francisco Giants +115 and 8.5 over. Listen, it's 2 games in. We've seen teams a few years ago be under 500 through May. Washington Nationals turn it around and win the whole thing. I'm not expecting the Giants to do that, of course, but is it time to panic, or what is Tony probably hasn't slept that well in the first 2 games?
No, probably not. But I'll say this in his defense: what are you going to do if your team's not hitting? If you're not competitive in these games and scoring runs, and I shouldn't even say it that way. If you're not competitive in a sense of putting pressure on the other team to do anything, that makes things really hard. Because if you don't get guys on base, you're not putting pressure on them. And I'm looking at their offense right now. They most teams at this point, they've played 2 games, and I look at offensive WAR in this particular spot, and I look at it on a seven games per this. So it's my normal thing. But so it's only 2, but they got every one of the and look, they didn't change their lineup. If it was the same lineup day 1, the same lineup day 2, same exact one, and 0 guys are positive offensive WAR. 0 out of their whole lineup. That's not very good. And if I were to go and say, hey, I can tell you right now, like the Seattle Mariners, I don't even know how they're winning any games, because Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez and Josh Naylor are terrible. Do you know that Cal Rowley's batted 8 times, struck out 7? And what's his name? Julio Rodriguez has batted 7 times, struck out 5. It's ridiculous to what this team is doing. But the new guy, Brandon Donovan's has done well. Dominic Canzone and Luke Wrigley. So they got guys that are at least helping them win. So I looked at this from a perspective of, and I'm not trying to get off on the Giants yet, but I was looking at the Mariners. They got a great pitching matchup tonight. They're against Cantillo, or I don't know how to say his name, Joey, and Brian Woo's pitching. Brian Woo is a game score 60 last year. He's an ace, and he's pitching against Cantillo, and you can play this game first 5 minus a half a run at like minus 120. I think that's probably pretty good odds. So I start running it through, and I'm fighting my damn AI, and I'm just beating the crap out of him going, why can't I play this game? He goes, there's not enough value. Your guys that you need to hit aren't hitting. So because of that, you're then going to rely on the Luke Rayleys of the world to go out there and beat Cleveland. And you're going to need your pitcher to be at his best to stay in that game. So I guess what I'm trying to say is some of these teams are having some struggles, Mariners included, and then they get the Yankees next. And then the Giants, I think the Giants are going to be so thrilled to not see Yankee pitchers. I don't know why. I mean, I get it. Fried was good. Schlittler was great yesterday. Will Warren should be halfway decent today. And, Tyler Mahle, he's one of those guys that's a veteran pitcher that, he doesn't have the greatest stuff in the world. The Yankees should hit him. So they're going to have to go hit. And if you're the manager of a team that's not hitting, the only thing you can do is take those guys and put them on the bench and put other guys in there and hope they hit. So I don't know if he's going to do that or not. But you don't have a lot of choices. You don't have a lot of decisions to make, whether you're going to bunt or hit and run or do all these stuff that they do in college and things like you don't have any of that stuff going on because you're not on base. So I think it's a weird spot for him in the sense that I don't think he expected this early, but whatever, it is what it is. We'll see how it develops and goes. I can tell you that the next series they play is the Padres. They have to go to the Padres. They'll like that a lot better than what they're seeing with the Yankees. So I think that'll make it more interesting to see what kind of manager he really is. But like the Yankees scored what they win that game 3-0 yesterday. And it was because Aaron Judge hit his first home run, and then in the same inning, Stanton hit his home run. They scored 3 runs, and nobody else scored at any point in the whole entire game. That was it, 3-0. So I think as a manager, when you don't have a whole lot of decisions to make, it's not hard to be a manager.
Last 2 games in pocket you want to go over?
I bet. So I don't like Mitch Keller this year. I've liked him in the past. I don't like him this year. Mitch Keller has only one time in his spring starts, and it was early, did he meet his velocity from last year. So he's down 1 mile an hour, which is not a dramatic effect, but he's down 1. But this is what bothers me about Mitch Keller. His last 2 starts in the spring training starts, his spin rate on the ball was 200 revolutions, 200 spins, whatever you want to call it, less than it was a year ago. So something's going on with Mitch Keller that's not a good thing. You want to be less than 100 revolutions off, whether it's, you really want to be more spin than you want less. Spin, by the way, the reason you want it is because it makes the ball move, whether it's vertically whether it's horizontally, whether it goes left, right, up, down, whatever, however you want to call it, the spin on the ball with the seams cutting through the air makes the ball move. So the more spin, the more the seams are hitting the air, the more the ball moves. So the less, obviously, the less it moves. So I have an issue with where he's at in his availability to play. So that's number one. Number two, I've always liked David Peterson. Now, he doesn't throw hard anymore. I don't know if he really ever did. He's a 91, 92 mile an hour fastball guy. But what I like is he's a bulldog. And he doesn't like to give up runs. He fights real hard. And I think the Mets are going to hit this Mitch Keller in a sense that he's not throwing gas. He's not out there throwing 97, 98. He's going to throw, 93 miles an hour, hittable stuff. And if it doesn't move, that's really bad. So I think the best way to play this game is Mets first 5 minus the half run. I got it at minus 107. I like that. I think it's a good play. They're at home. I like Pittsburgh. I really like Pittsburgh when Bubba Chandler pitches. I like Pittsburgh when Paul Skeens pitches. And obviously everything's price dependent. But I don't like this spot for them. And I don't like Mitch Keller. Mitch Keller has seen these guys a lot. And to be honest, he's had pretty good success against the Mets. But this is how much I believe in spring training, velocity, movement, things like that, is that overrides that choice for me. If he's a worse pitcher than he was before, the Mets are going to have better success to hit him than they have in the past. So that's play number 5. And play number 6 that I haven't talked about yet is Kyle Bradish. Now, Kyle Bradish is coming back. He came back last year for the Orioles from having some issues, and he was hurt. His velocity is great. He's throwing. He had great spring. He looks real healthy. It's a home game for them. What's really cool is they're facing Taj Bradley. Guess what? Taj Bradley was a Ray. So they've seen Taj Bradley. They know what Taj Bradley is. Taj Bradley, by the way, is the only Twins pitcher that hasn't had an issue in spring. Now, that doesn't mean a whole lot because he hasn't done very well. And what really set me up on this game was Taj Bradley is a minus 11.45. He is the second worst. RE24 guy on the whole card of 30 pitchers today. Second worst at run suppression. So that tells me that we can see Baltimore score today. They've seen him. They know what his stuff does. He's not that super high-end velocity, highly top kid he used to be when he was with the Rays. He kind of fell apart a little bit and hasn't been able to put it back together. So I played this game as, quote, my long shot of the day, if you want to call it that. I think Baltimore goes out, handles Minnesota. I think Bradish pitches well. I think they win by 2 at home. I played them on the run line minus 1.5. I got that at plus 140. So I didn't want to play it in the first 5 innings because Baltimore's got a better bullpen than the Mets or than the Twins do. And if they can go beat them up and score 4 runs in the bullpen, that just stretches things out for me even better. So I like the idea that I think Baltimore's going to hit. I didn't think they hit super well in the first game against Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan shut them down. They hit against the bullpen. I think they're going to hit against Taj Bradley. I think they're gonna do well. I think Bradish is not. Bradish is going to hold the Minnesota Twins down, and I think you're going to see at least 2, 3, 4 run win for Baltimore. So that's my 6 plays. Right? We talked about them. I got the Rays with Boyle going today. I got the Cubs minus on the run line. I took Baltimore on the run line because of what we just talked about. I took the Mets in the first 5 innings on the run line. I took Boston money line, and I took the Detroit Tigers. I tried to get involved in other spots, but just couldn't. I will say this, and I said it yesterday. I said yesterday, bet the Angels yesterday with Kikuchi on the mound, and Kikuchi didn't have a good day. He didn't make Kikuchi didn't pitch 5 innings, and they still won. And Mike Trout has hit 2 home runs. I think he is got 5 hits and 6 or 7 at bats, something stupid like that. Neto's been really good. Shanuel's hit his home runs. And they're pitching in the bull. Look, their bullpen's better than you think. Soriano was really good game 1. Kikuchi wasn't very good yesterday. But here's the big deal today. I don't think people remember Detmers. Detmers took a year off last year. Now, they demoted him to minor leagues. Then they let him pitch in relief last year. Reed Detmers, at one point in time, probably 3 years ago, maybe 4, was the guy on the Angels staff that had the best stuff of all of them. He was their up-and-coming Grayson Rodriguez, if you want to call him that. He was that. Well, he's getting fixed. He's pitching today, and Christian Javier's pitching for the Astros. Now, Christian Javier missed most, if not all, of last year. He's been hurt a lot. He's a soft tosser anymore. He's a 91-mile-an-hour fastball guy. And I was really surprised when I pulled up projected WAR for these guys, because that's how I make my numbers. Christian Javier is a 1. Okay, that's not super good. And he's a 0.9 on the other one. So I don't remember if it was Zips or if it was a Streamer, whichever one. But Reed Detmers, he's a 2. He's double better than Javier is. And here we go. I get it. The only reason here's the real truth. And there's the underdogs again. The only reason I didn't bet this game is because I don't think the Angels are good enough to win 3 straight games on the road against a divisional opponent. That's the only reason I didn't bet it. They're the better team today. They're the better pitcher today. And it's a left-handed pitcher. And Alvarez, that's a little bit more of a problem, right? He hit a home run yesterday, so that's the first one he's hit. I told you, I think Houston's aged. I think their offense is aged, and I don't think they have any good pitchers. So as this kind of goes out, they are the biggest adjustment so far in the models in terms of dropping from where they were originally projected. I'll say it that way. They're not even projected. Let me double check. I say stuff sometimes and forget what I mentioned. Fangraphs says they're going to win 78 games now. That's not 500. It says and Baseball Prospectus has them at 82. Well, that's one better than 500. And the other one I use it's called ATC. You can get it on Fangraphs. They have them at 79.5. Their win total is 85.5. They're not going to get there. I don't know if you can still bet it, but if you at that number, but they have dropped from being right up there with what Texas is to now they are. The gap to Texas is 13 points. The gap to the A's is 20. So the A's might actually be better than the Astros this year. How about that?
Me and Scotty will be back on Monday. I just checked the slate. It's all evening games to be. There's a few.
It's a full damn slate on Monday. Are you kidding me?
And I have meetings in the afternoon, and it's my one night out, Al Bundy and bowling. But we'll talk after this on what time will be for the full slate. We'll do what we do on Mondays, a re-entry Monday. We'll go over the weekend, any key injuries. anything that we saw, or the kids still doing it, DeLauder, McGonigal, and so on there. Panicked states. Did San Fran finally score? Did the luck box keep being the luck box, and so on and so forth? Shout out to Mr. Pulse Vibe Studio. Thank you as always. And of course, PB, Dr. Lance, Mr. Lucky, and so on. Almost 100 people live on a Saturday. We can't thank you enough for that here just on X alone. If you haven't, head on over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investor. Subscribe. It's free. Come on back to X. Of course, myself at EC Sports Invest, Scotty at Webby20 MLB. And last but never least, head on over to Scotty's Substack. Go to substack.com at Webby20 MLB. It's free. Get all his plays, all his analysis, all his abbreviation, all his supplements, as we like to say, and enjoy baseball. We got Elite Eight in college hoops today and tomorrow. Who will get to the Final Four? Congrats to UConn. A big win for them against Michigan State. They will face the almighty Duke. Winner gets to Indy. Two tickets will be punched today as well. So again, guys, great week. Great start of baseball for everyone. We want to see this thing grow if you can. The hearts are nice. The retweets are better. So enjoy yourselves. Behave. Stay tuned. And see you next week.